in Rainbows is the coordinating the workstream reps. And we started off at the beginning of our journey on phase 1 in November 2013, which was the launch of the Slavery Balls. We met up with a lot of professionals to sort of get started, and it was from that point that we said that parents need to be involved in this process. There's a whole list of work streams that happened last year. The first one is the Educational Health and Care Plan. And in terms of our influence as parents, we are continuing to influence that process. At the moment, it's very much in flux. That, people are getting started with the process, but it's very early days, and parents are still able to influence that to actually make some changes. In terms of early years, we've got a lovely work stream rep called Louise, who sits on that, and they've started putting together provision maps, which is highlighting all the different kinds of support that your child might need in a nursery setting and then moving up to school, giving teachers and people that work with the children a bit more of an idea of what is available for those children. The Preparing for Adulthood workstream, that was looking at futures involvement and also the benefit of getting our children and young people into work experience. We've also got the local offer, and we have already influenced the local offer. It started off as a very basic package with all the things were there, but it was about being workable. Nuno, who's actually been running it, has actually done a bit of a focus group with our parents. We gave him a bit of a tough time, to be honest. We told him, this is what we want, this is what's not working, and he's actually working on that to make improvements, so it's slowly getting there. The key working, there was a number of key workers that were involved in the process, and Louise again and Sue Hopkinson were involved in the interviews and the paying all the paperwork for that. And personal budgets. I did a bit of a focus group on what the best things were about being a parent rep. There's lots of positive things about getting involved, but there are also lots of challenges as we're parents there and we're sitting on with other professionals at the table. It can be very difficult.
Governments like to do stuff. They think they can help and make people better. They're also answerable to the people, and they don't want to be seen to waste their money. And they take this responsibility very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that they count stuff and measure stuff and arrange stuff, so they can tell people where their money has been spent. It's really not that easy, and so they have to order the stuff in certain ways. But some things can't be counted, measured and arranged. Let's call these things the problems. Sometimes the problems don't look like squares. Sometimes the problems involve people. And when problems and people come together, they aren't squarish. They are, blobbish. Blobs change and don't like being stacked and arranged and organised. Why, government wondered, if every time they try to solve a problem, did the problem get worse? Why don't these puppets know what's good for them and stay put so that we can fix them? The government said, this isn't working. We don't seem to be able to get to the bottom of this. Who can we get to help us understand the problems better? But because the government is so responsible for how they spend people's money, they needed to find people they were sure they could trust to spend it wisely. They asked some people like them, who looked like them, and talked like them, and they gave the money to them because they trusted them to manage it, account for it, and spend it in a sensible way. And of course, they looked, a bit squarish. This is a big job, said the little squares. We must do our best to succeed. And so they set about developing the tools to do the job. The equipment, the institutional capacity, professional expertise. And they set about understanding the blobs better. Because how could they help if they didn't understand the problem? They invested in the process for solving problems, and they invested in the infrastructure for solving problems. But no matter how much the squares tried to reach out into the community and understand the root causes of the problems, they never managed it. They really weren't able to get to where the problems were. They were, well, just too squarish. Oh dear, the government squares said to the little squares, this isn't working. And it wasn't. A gulf still separated the squares from the blobs. It wasn't working because however well we understood the problems simply weren't theirs. And no matter how hard they tried, the problems just wouldn't stand still. We've invested all this money, said the government, created all this expertise, built all this resource, but it still hasn't worked. And so they tried to bridge the gulf by asking the little squares to find blobs they could partner with. And so the little squares invited the blobs that seemed like they had the energy, vitality, and the drive to make a difference to work with them and sit on their boards as representatives. This time, they didn't just experiment on the blobs, they asked the blobs what they wanted and what they thought and how life should be. But this approach made the blob unhappy because it seemed to reinforce the difference even more. Oh dear, the squares said, this still isn't working. So they tried getting some of the money directly to grassroots organizations that were very blobby. They must be able to solve the problem, they thought, because you can't get closer to the problem than that. But to be trusted with the money, the blobs had to produce reports. Attend training sessions and height risk assessments. And by the time the blobs had done all this, something strange happened. They had synced with the blobs and become little squares. And by the blobs becoming squarish, they lost everything that made them blobs. Their energy, grassroots connections, vitality. And something more important happened. They became neither blobs nor squares. They lost their sense of what made them who they are. And they lost their sense that they could do something to help, that they could solve problems, and that they had an idea of how to make the world a better place. We think that there is a different way. We think the squares are really good at some things, and we think the blobs are really good at others. We think co-production is a different way for squares and blobs to work together. While the squares may well be the experts in the process, the blobs have something equally important and something the solution needs: the context. Co-production is a partnership where the process and context have equal value, where squares and blobs need and value each other for who they are and what they can give. One is not more important or valuable than the other. It isn't about imposing a solution on a problem. Instead, it is about understanding that the solution can only lie in the problem. It is only through a process where the assets of both the squares and blobs are valued equally that great things can happen. Each one of us has a strength. As a professional is more than their job title, a person is more than their problem. Co-production matters! To find out more about co-production and a new way to do business, go to www.nomorethrowawaypeople.com.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. This is about us as parents sitting at the table with other professionals. We're not there to be squares. We're there to carry on being blobs. Here we are now. We're now on to phase 2. As a lot of people are aware, the new legislation came into force on the 1st of September 2014. But as I've already said, that we're still carrying on with our work streams as there's still things to improve, change, discuss. So at the moment we've got a number of people that are on our phase 2 reforms. We've got a list here of our current parent reps, and the new process means that we've got 4 different work streams, but also that underneath those there will be some subgroups so that people can go off and do particular bits of work with the professionals. This is where the parent care forums fit in the whole process. We're right in the middle. This slide is the DFE's Angro's Director of Special Needs and Children's Services strategy. And I'm glad to know that's the end of our presentation. At the Ministerial Roundtable meeting in September 2014, Edward Timpson MP made the point that reforms will not work unless parent carers work together as critical friends with the local authorities. I know I've made a bit of a hash of my presentation, but at the end of the day, we're here. We want to be involved. We want you to be involved. Anybody that is interested in coming forward to be part of our parent care reference group, or if they would like to be involved in the actual work streams and moving things forward, then please come and see me and I can sign them up.